Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going, well, really deep. We're talking about the very mechanics of how you experience, well, everything, how reality gets constructed, moment by moment, right inside your head.
And we're kicking off with a pretty radical idea, actually. What if you're not just a passive observer watching the world like a movie? What if, instead, the world is sort of watching itself, structuring itself through you, using you as the lens, so to speak?
Okay, that flips the script immediately.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of assume we're just seeing what's out there, right? Objectively. But you're saying it's more like an internal broadcast, a private showing.
That's exactly the core of what we're diving into. What you perceive isn't raw data. It's not objective reality hitting your eyeballs. It's more like a real-time cinematic production.
A feature film.
A feature film, yeah.
Huh.
Shot, edited, scored, and distributed exclusively inside the theater of your mind. You're the only audience member, but you're also, maybe unknowingly, the director, the camera crew, the editor, the whole production team.
Wow. Okay, so our mission today is to unpack that. To look at the operating system behind this internal movie, mainly using the ideas from Gestalt psychology.
Right. We want to show you in some detail how things like your attention, your personal history, your emotions right now, even your predictions about the future, how all that shapes every single instant of your experience.
Think of it as maybe a shortcut to understanding the invisible architecture of your own consciousness.
We're going to dissect these hidden structures, how your mind decides what jumps out, what becomes the main event, the figure, and what just fades into the background hum, the ground.
Get ready, because the implication is, well, you don't just interpret reality, you're actually manufacturing it.
So where do we start? Maybe with the mind's absolute refusal to just be quiet.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. You close your eyes, pitch black room, total sensory deprivation, right? You'd expect nothing. Blank screen.
But it's not blank, is it? The mind insists on projecting something. You see those little lights, phosphenes?
Shapes, colors, pulsing.
Sometimes even complex patterns or faces or memories just flashing up like old film frames.
It will not be silent.
The brain just refuses silence. It's fundamentally not built to be a passive receiver. Even with zero input from the retinas, the nervous system is firing, it's generating light, form, imagery.
So the baseline state isn't quiet reception, it's active projection.
Exactly. Which kind of immediately throws out the whole idea of perception being like a simple mirror, just reflecting what's out there.
Right, it's not just taking photos of the world and sending them upstairs. That visual data, the light hitting your eyes, it's just one ingredient, isn't it? In a much more complex recipe.
Precisely. Perception is an active construction. It's predictive. It's stitched together, moment by moment, from bits of light, sure, but also from your memories, from your brain's predictions, from what you want or need emotionally right now.
And we don't build it pixel by pixel. That'd be way too slow, right, for survival.
Way too slow. Instead, we perceive wholes. We see patterns, structures, configurations first. The brain jumps to conclusions, in a way. Good conclusions, usually.
And that jump, that need to see the structure, the whole thing, before the individual bits.
Yeah.
That's the core of Gestalt psychology.
Yeah. That's the essence. We are meaning-making machines. We impose coherence, structure onto what's essentially just neutral sensory input.
We don't find the meaning out there.
We bring the meaning to the data based on our wiring, our history, our needs. Gestalt itself, the German word, it means form, shape, configuration. The whole is different, fundamentally different than just adding up the parts.
Because the structuring itself adds something new. It adds the meaning.
Exactly. And the quickest way for anyone listening to feel this happening is with those classic ambiguous images.
Like the Rubin vase, where you see a vase, and then suddenly, boom, it's two faces looking at each other.
Or the duck rabbit. Hold one of those in your mind. Now, without moving your eyes, just will it to flip, trying to see the other thing.
Okay.
Did you feel that tiny little click?
Yeah.
It's almost physical.
It really is. It's not like deciding, oh, I'll see the faces now. It's like a switch flips somewhere deep inside. And the whole image just rearranges itself instantly.
That click, that sensation is the moment. It's your mind deciding, usually unconsciously, instantaneously, what gets the spotlight, what becomes the figure. And everything else, it gets pushed back, becomes this sort of formless, undifferentiated background. The ground.
The ground is still there, providing context, but all the attention, all the energy flows to the figure.
Right. But if it can flip that easily, I mean, how reliable is any single perception? Can we learn to, control that flip, make it conscious?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But first, we have to appreciate why it flips. It's about efficiency. dealing with chaos.
Think about walking into a really crowded party. Objectively, your senses are being absolutely bombarded.
Overlapping voices, faces everywhere, music, smells, people brushing past.
Thousands, maybe millions of separate bits of data hitting you every second. If you tried to process all of that equally, consciously.
You just freeze. Total system overload.
Exactly. But you don't experience chaos, do you? You walk in, and almost instantly you experience meaning. Your nervous system might be flooded, but your consciousness is already curating, aggressively.
Maybe you're looking for the host or a friend.
Right, that's the task. That's the initial figure. Then through that wall of sound, suddenly you hear your name, or you recognize a specific laugh.
And that voice or that laugh instantly pops out. It becomes the figure. Everything else, all the other conversations, the music, it just becomes background noise.
It doesn't vanish entirely, but it fades way, way back in importance. It becomes, like you said, wallpaper, irrelevant static.
And this filtering isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's the system doing its job brilliantly, turning chaos into a manageable story.
A triumph of perception, which leads us perfectly to meeting the crew responsible for making that story happen. The inner film crew.
Okay, so if perception is this internal movie, let's meet the crew. Who's doing what behind the scenes? Because this is all happening incredibly fast, right? Faster than conscious thought.
Oh, way faster. They're setting the scene, choosing the angles, cutting the film before your rational mind even gets the memo about what you're supposedly looking at.
So I was thinking about attention earlier. Attention feels like the camera operator. It's the bit that physically does the focusing, right? Panning across the room, zooming in on a detail, maybe blurring out the background.
A perfect analogy. Attention is the camera, but who's telling the camera where to point?
The director.
The director. And this director is, let's just say, not objective, not even close. The director is your history.
By history, like my memories.
Memories, yes, but also your ingrained fears, your deepest desires, your expectations, your cultural conditioning, and crucially, those unresolved gestalts we touched on, those unfinished emotional loops.
Okay, we definitely need to unpack unresolved gestalts more later. But how do these things whisper cues to the camera operator to attention?
They do it by assigning instant emotional significance, by flagging things. If you have an old, unfinished fear of being judged, the director whispers, "Quick, zoom in on that person's frown, see? They disapprove."
Even if the frown means nothing or they're just concentrating?
Doesn't matter, the director sees a pattern match. Or, if you deeply desire connection, the director shouts, "Ignore the awkward silence, focus on the slight smile, that's your in." The past is literally framing your present moment.
Wow. That explains so much about why two people can witness the exact same event, say, a boss looking quickly at their watch during a presentation, and have completely different experiences.
Only different realities. One person's director says, "See? Boredom. You're failing." The other's director says, "Efficiency check. Respect for time." The objective event. Minimal. The directed interpretation. Everything.
Okay, so director, history, desire, fear, and camera operator, attention. Who else is on set?
You absolutely need the lighting crew. And the lighting crew. That's your current mood.
Ah, okay. Tell me more.
Your mood literally changes the color grade, the atmosphere, the entire feel of the scene. If you're feeling anxious, the world gets lit with harsh, high-contrast light.
Right. Shadows seem deeper, sounds are sharper, everything feels a bit threatening.
Exactly. The same street, the same office, but it feels dangerous. The lighting crew is projecting your internal anxiety onto the external world.
And the opposite, if you're feeling, say, happy or in love.
Then the world gets that soft focus treatment. Warm, golden light. Edges seem softer, colors richer, minor annoyances, background noise. Suddenly tolerable, maybe even charming. Same reality, different lighting, totally different movie.
It's amazing how powerful that is. Okay, who else?
Can't forget the script supervisor. And that's memory. But not just static files in a cabinet.
How so? I usually think of memory as just recall.
Well, think of the script supervisor on a real film set. Their job is continuity, right? Making sure this scene matches the last one. Memory does that constantly, in real time. It's comparing the current frame to this vast library of past footage.
Checking for consistency.
Checking for consistency, whispering context. Uh-oh, this setup looks like that time things went badly. Or, okay, this feels familiar and safe, proceed. Or even, warning, plot twist likely, prepare for evasive action. Memory provides the narrative context, stabilizing the interpretation based on your life story.
Which brings us to the editor. And you said the editor has a tyrannical job. Coherence above all else.
The editor is obsessed with a clean, logical narrative. The brain fundamentally craves coherence. So the editor's job is to cut anything that doesn't fit the dominant storyline.
What kind of things get cut?
Anything contradictory, ambiguities, sensory input that clashes with the established truth, whether that truth is I'm succeeding or I'm failing. The editor smooths over the gaps caused by blinking, or when your attention wanders for a split second. It fills in the blanks to make it all seamless.
So the editor prefers a neat story, even if reality is actually messy, fragmented, contradictory.
Absolutely. Because a coherent story, even a slightly inaccurate one, is usually more useful for quick decisions and survival than navigating raw, confusing chaos. But here's the really unsettling part.
Okay.
The editor is so good, so seamless, that you, the audience, completely believe the final cut is reality, raw and unedited. There's no little pop-up disclaimer from your brain.
Right. No warning. This perception has been carefully curated based on your anxiety levels and unresolved childhood issues.
Wouldn't that be useful? But no. You just get served the final product, immersive, authoritative, utterly convincing. It's a stunning psychological achievement, really, but it means the reality you inhabit is just one possible version, deeply shaped by your internal architecture, your history, your needs.
Okay, let's dig into the speed of this production crew, especially around threat detection, because that seems linked to our history, our wounds, in a really primal way. This is where rational thought just gets bypassed, isn't it?
Completely bypassed. We're talking about the raw speed of the amygdala, the brain's threat detector. Research shows it tags an incoming stimulus, threat, or reward, safe or dangerous, in something like 17 milliseconds.
17 milliseconds. That's faster than a single conscious thought, faster than an eye blink.
Way faster. Which means before you even consciously register what you're seeing or hearing, your body is already reacting. That little clench in your gut, the tightening in your shoulders, the subtle shift in your breathing, the hormonal cascade has begun.
It's like the editor isn't even waiting for the dailies. They're splicing in emergency footage on the fly.
That's a great way to put it. It's splicing in a scene cut directly from the raw, high-impact footage of your past. Past trauma, yeah, but also deep cultural conditioning, moments of shame, fear, loss, anything emotionally charged and maybe not fully processed.
So we think we're reacting to this moment right now.
But often we're actually reacting to an echo. We're editing in a flashback, triggered by something in the present that structurally resembles the past event.
Okay, that structural resemblance feels key. This explains so much about relationships, misunderstandings, how two people can be in the exact same situation. Say, one partner asks a simple, neutral question about weekend plans.
And person A hears, let's connect and coordinate, while person B hears, you're trying to control my time, don't fence me in.
Totally different internal films playing.
Exactly. And crucially, both people are accurately reporting their own subjective experience. Person B isn't crazy or overreacting in their internal cinema. Their system genuinely detected a threat based on past programming. There are no truly objective events in conscious experience, only these subjective renderings.
Shaped by, what did you call them? The unresolved Gestalt. Let's define that properly. It sounds kind of clinical or like something's broken.
It's not necessarily about trauma or pathology, though it can be. More fundamentally, an unresolved gestalt is just an unfinished configuration, an incomplete pattern. It's some kind of psychological or emotional process that started but didn't reach a natural, satisfying closure.
Like what? Give me some examples.
It could be a boundary you needed to set with someone but never did, a major loss you couldn't fully grieve at the time, a profound apology you needed to offer or receive, a developmental need, like needing to feel seen or safe as a child that wasn't consistently met.
So because it's unfinished, it doesn't just fade away.
No, it stays active. It carries a kind of energetic charge in your system. It's like an open loop, constantly, quietly seeking closure.
And it hijacks perception by looking for things in the present that fit the old pattern.
Precisely. It scans the environment unconsciously, looking for stimuli it can latch onto, stimuli that feel like the original situation, allowing it to play out the old drama again. It colors ambiguous events.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Give us an example where this plays out. Maybe one clearly emotional, one seemingly more everyday.
Okay, the emotional one. Imagine someone, let's call her Sarah, grew up feeling consistently overlooked. Her need to be seen, truly witnessed, is a powerful open gestalt. Years later, she's in a meeting presenting an important project she's poured her heart into. Her boss glances down at his phone for maybe 3 seconds.
Objectively? A glance. Could be anything. A text from his kid, checking the time.
Neutral stimulus. But Sarah's internal film instantly cuts to, he's not listening, I'm invisible, my work doesn't matter. The figure her attention grabs is the phone. The ground, maybe everyone else is nodding, engaged. The presentation is going well, gets completely ignored, filtered out. The phone becomes imbued with massive catastrophic meaning because it activated the old unseen child structure.
Wow. Okay. And a more mundane one.
Let's say someone, Mark, was constantly criticized for small mistakes as a kid, told he was clumsy or careless, never really praised for trying. His open gestalt is around failure and harsh self-judgment. Now he's driving, completely focused, and someone cuts him off slightly.
Annoying, happens all the time.
Right. But instead of his attention staying on the figure of the other car and the immediate traffic situation, Mark's unresolved gestalt gets triggered. He might suddenly flash to thinking about a driving mistake he made last week, or feel a wave of anxiety. I'm probably a terrible driver, I'm going to cause an accident. The present moment, getting cut off, gets hijacked by the old feeling of being inherently flawed or incompetent. His attention is pulled inward to the old wound rather than staying outward on the road.
Okay, this connection, the present stimulus activating the structure of the past wound, this is what you called isomorphism. Can we linger on that? It feels really important.
It is crucial. Isomorphism just means sameness of form or sameness of structure. The key insight is that the present trigger doesn't need to be identical in content to the past wound. It just needs to share a similar emotional or structural pattern.
So for Sarah, the boss's glance doesn't have to be the same as her parent ignoring her. It just has the same structure of attention withdrawn.
Exactly. Her nervous system recognizes the pattern, the shape of the experience, and reacts accordingly. It's an incredibly efficient, if sometimes painful, matching system. The brain finds the quickest path to interpretation, and that path often leads straight back to the most emotionally charged, unresolved structures.
Understanding that. It shifts things, doesn't it? It's not, I'm crazy for reacting this way. It's, my system recognized a pattern here. It moves from self-blame to curiosity, maybe.
That's the goal, curiosity about the structure itself. And this brings us back to the power we do have, the visceral choice. Let's do that camera experiment again. Imagine you're holding that camera really focused on, say, someone's face.
Okay, I see the eyes, the expression.
That's the figure. Now, deliberately shift your focus. Don't look away, just shift attention to the shadow behind their earlobe, or the texture of the wall behind them, or a single crack in the pavement just beyond their feet.
Okay, yeah. The feeling changes completely. The face is still there, but it's faded. The crack, which was nothing a second ago, suddenly feels significant. It's the whole focus.
The external scene didn't change one bit, but your reality shifted. Why? Because you chose a new figure. This is the core revelation. You don't just notice what's important, you actively make things important by choosing to focus on them. Attention isn't passive, it's creative. It summons meaning out of the background noise. So let's really draw the contrast here. On one hand, you've got what we might call the real world, the raw footage. It's just everything. Unedited, overwhelming sensory chaos, too much information.
And on the other hand, you have what we call reality, which is actually the final cut, the edited version your mind puts together so you can function, survive, make sense of things.
And getting from that raw chaos to the coherent final cut requires massive, aggressive filtering. The editor is constantly cutting things out, and this filtering is so powerful we can literally become blind to things that are right in front of us if they don't fit the story we're currently focused on.
This sounds like that famous experiment.
Yeah.
The one with the basketball players.
Yes, the Neisser and Becklin study from the 70s, a classic, groundbreaking piece of work on selective attention.
Remind us how it worked. They showed people a video.
Right. They cleverly superimposed two different video scenes onto each other. Imagine seeing both at once, transparently. One scene was, say, people passing a basketball back and forth. The other might be two people playing a hand-clapping game. Participants were given a specific task, like count only the basketball passes.
Which forces you to focus really hard on one layer, one specific action. That's the designated figure.
Exactly. Intense focus required. Now, while participants were busy counting passes, something else happened, completely unexpected. A woman, carrying a fully open umbrella, just calmly walked right through the middle of the whole superimposed scene, clearly visible on screen for several seconds.
And the result?
Still astonishing, isn't it? Most participants, when asked afterwards, swore they never saw her. No woman, no umbrella. She was physically there. Light from her image hit their retinas, but perceptually, she didn't exist for them.
Because she wasn't part of the task. She wasn't relevant to the basketball passing story they were tracking.
She was irrelevant to the figure, so the incredibly efficient perceptual editor just cut her out, filtered her into the background, rendered her invisible. This is why it's sometimes called the triumph of perception.
It's a triumph of filtering chaos, for sure, making the task manageable. But wow, it raises a massive question for us, doesn't it?
A deeply unsettling one. It forces you to ask, how many women with umbrellas are walking through your life every single day?
How many opportunities? How many subtle warning signs? How many simple acts of kindness from others? How many potential solutions to a problem?
Are being completely edited out of your experience simply because they don't fit the story you're currently focused on tracking. Whether that story is I'm too busy, or nobody helps me, or everything is fine.
That filtering mechanism,
Hmm.
it can literally erase things from our awareness if they threaten the narrative we settled on. Think about it in terms of, say, health. You might be focused on the figure of getting work done and suddenly filter out the ground of persistent fatigue or nagging back pain until it becomes a crisis.
Or finance. Focused on the figure of making ends meet this month, filtering out the ground of that amazing investment opportunity someone mentioned, or the need for a difficult budget conversation, we project our current narrative onto the world.
The world becomes this screen, and we're just projecting our internal movie onto it. Neutral events, ambiguous comments, they're just waiting for us to overlay our personal mythology. Seeing danger where there's just difference. Seeing rejection where there's just distraction.
Perception doesn't just receive information. It dictates what information is allowed in.
Okay, let's make this really practical for someone listening. Think about a recent moment that felt really difficult, maybe painful. An argument, feeling slighted at work, a misunderstanding. Instead of replaying it as the victim of the circumstances, try reframing it as if you were the filmmaker.
Step back from the emotional heat for a second. Get into the director's chair or the editor's booth and ask those crucial questions. What specific detail did I zoom in on? What became the central figure in that moment?
What context, what other information did I immediately push into the ground? What got ignored or minimized?
What kind of lighting did I use? Was it harsh, judgmental light or soft, curious, understanding light? What memories or past experiences, those isomorphic patterns, did I instantly splice into that scene to give it meaning?
And maybe most importantly, what ending did I immediately assume was going to happen? Did I jump to a catastrophic conclusion based on that initial framing?
Often, when you do this honestly, the revelation is, well, can be startling. The actual objective event, the specific words used, the brief glance, the unanswered text, was often incredibly small, neutral, or ambiguous.
It was the editing. My framing, my lighting, my added memories, my predicted ending. That's what made it feel so overwhelming or painful.
You realize you're not just reacting to reality, you're reacting powerfully to your rendering of reality. And seeing that difference, becoming aware of the rendering process itself, that's where the possibility of freedom starts to creep in. So if our moment-to-moment reality is this constantly shifting projection, this edited film, what does that do to our idea of a solid, fixed self?
Yeah, the sense of me as this stable thing sitting inside looking out, it starts to feel less solid, doesn't it?
It really does. From this perspective, the self isn't some static noun, some unchanging entity. It's much more like a verb, a process, a constantly shifting configuration of awareness, energy, attention. It's an emergent gestalt itself, always forming and reforming.
Like a temporary pattern in a field, constantly rearranging based on what we focus on. But our minds don't like that flux, do they? They crave stability, order.
Which brings us to a core Gestalt principle, the law of pregnance. Ah, yes, pregnance. It's a German word, hard to translate perfectly, sometimes called the law of good form, or simplicity, or closure. Essentially, it states that our perceptual system automatically organizes experience into the simplest, most stable, most coherent, most meaningful pattern possible under the circumstances.
The mind hates loose ends. It hates ambiguity.
It abhors fragmentation and open loops. This drive for closure, for a stable structure, is incredibly powerful. So powerful, in fact, that the nervous system will often prefer a neat, tidy, structured story, even if it's slightly inaccurate or based on incomplete information over facing messy, ambiguous, chaotic truth.
Stability trumps accuracy sometimes, because stability feels safer, more predictable.
Exactly, which explains why we rush to fill in the blanks, often with our worst fears. Let's go back to that text message example. Just 2 words pop up on your screen from someone important. We need to talk.
Instant stomach drop.
Instant. Why? Because before you have any other context, is it good news, bad news, trivial news? Your system, obeying pregnance, immediately snaps the field into the most familiar, stable, though unpleasant structure it associates with those words.
Which is usually danger, loss, rejection, something bad is coming.
Right. That phrase becomes the burning figure. And everything else, the comfortable chair you're sitting in, the fact you had a good morning, the birds singing outside, all that supportive ground just vanishes. All energy goes to the perceived threat.
It's efficient, but potentially very painful.
It's highly functional for survival, based on learned patterns. It's not a distortion in that sense. It's the system doing its job of creating rapid meaning. But it can be painful if the assumed meaning is negative and untrue.
So, given this automatic drive for structure, how do we find freedom? You mentioned insight isn't just intellectual.
Right. True Gestalt insight isn't like learning a new fact or figuring out a puzzle mentally. It's a perceptual revolution. It's a felt shift, a physical reorganization of the entire field. The old structure literally collapses, and the elements snap into a new configuration.
You don't just understand differently, you see differently. The whole picture changes.
Let's use that bad with money example again. Someone spends years operating under the figure, I'm just fundamentally bad with money. Every late bill, every impulse buy confirms this story. It's a stable, albeit painful, gestalt.
And the ground? What's being ignored?
The ground might be, my parents were constantly stressed about money but never talked about it openly. I never had any formal financial education. The economic system makes saving difficult. I feel shame asking for help. All that context is ignored to maintain the simple, stable figure. I am the problem.
So every perceived mistake just reinforces the flaw.
Until one day, maybe they read something or talk to someone or have an experience that introduces a critical piece of ground information. Perhaps they learn that financial literacy isn't innate, it's taught. Or they realize their parents had the exact same struggles. Suddenly, click.
The perceptual revolution.
The structure reconfigures, the figure shifts. It's no longer I am bad with money. It becomes perhaps I was never given the tools, or I absorbed my family's anxiety around money. The ground rushes in history, lack of education, systemic factors. Shame evaporates, replaced by clarity, maybe compassion and a sense of agency. The old, painful gestalt has closed, and a new, more accurate, more empowering one has formed.
That's profound. So the key isn't necessarily to fight the structure.
No, you can't really fight it directly. The beginning of freedom is simply noticing it. It's developing the capacity to step back slightly and observe.
Oh, okay.
This is how I'm organizing my experience right now.
Yeah.
This is the figure my attention has locked onto. This is the story my editor is telling me.
Just that act of noticing creates a little space.
It creates crucial space. It's like finding a tiny crack in the fourth wall of the cinema. You're still in the movie, feeling the feelings, but a part of you realizes, wait a minute, I'm also watching the movie. And maybe I have some influence on how it's being made. You don't choose your unresolved gestalts initially. They choose you. They grab your attention. Until you become aware of them. Awareness is the key. Now we need to push this even further. Maybe challenge the most fundamental boundary we assume, the line between inner self and outer world.
The idea that there's me in here and the world out there completely separate.
From a Gestalt perspective, and also certain phenomenological views, that sharp boundary is ultimately an illusion. A useful convention, perhaps, but not the fundamental reality of experience.
So what is there instead?
There's just the event of perception, the continuous process where the organism, you, and the environment meet and co-create experience. This meeting point, this interface, is sometimes called the contact boundary.
So we're not in the world or separate from the world. We are the interface, where the world comes into conscious focus.
Beautifully put. Think about breathing. Is the air out there or in here? Well, it crosses the boundary constantly. Is the feeling of warmth on your skin out there, the sun, or in here, your nerves firing? The distinction collapses at the point of contact. We are fundamentally interwoven with our environment.
Okay. If we really take that on board,
Yeah.
how does it change the film metaphor we've been using?
It shifts it again, maybe to the deepest level. We're no longer just identifying with the director trying to control the plot, or the editor trying to fix the flaws, or even just the camera operator choosing the focus.
What are the ultimate roles then?
Maybe we are simultaneously the screen itself, this luminous, receptive awareness that holds all the images without being stained by them. And we are the projector, the inherent capacity of consciousness to generate form, structure, and meaning. And perhaps most profoundly, we are the theater, the silent, empty, spacious awareness that contains the entire show. Screen, projector, film, audience, everything.
Wow. So moving from identifying with the character running around frantically in the movie.
To resting as the space, the awareness. in which the whole movie unfolds. When you stop grabbing onto the figure of the moment, the anxious thought, the surge of anger, the story of me, and just relax into the background awareness, what do you find?
You find the field itself, the ground, the quiet space that was there all along, holding everything.
Exactly. Resting as the sky, letting the clouds, thoughts, feelings, sensations drift through without identifying with them. The realization is that true freedom isn't about escaping the structure of perception or controlling it perfectly. It's about developing this deep awareness within the structure.
We don't need to stop the film or rewrite the entire script. We just need to wake up inside the theater.
And when you do that, something amazing happens. When you stop fighting perception, stop trying to force it into a chaise it doesn't want to take, it actually starts to heal itself in a way.
Oh.
Those unresolved gestalts, those open loops, they start to surface more gently. Not as terrifying threats you need to suppress or analyze endlessly, but more like messengers, carrying valuable information about what needs attention, what needs completion, what needs contact.
Contact meaning that real meeting between you and the environment without the heavy filter of the past.
Exactly. The organism meets the environment freshly. This is the healing power of awareness and perception. So when that text message, "we need to talk," arrives,
Instead of instant panic and projecting a catastrophe.
maybe the initial jolt of anxiety still arises, that's biology, but because you're resting more as the theater, you also notice your feet on the floor, the warmth of your hands, the sound of the fridge humming. The anxiety becomes just one cloud, one figure in a much larger sky.
It doesn't hijack the whole system. It's one frame, maybe an important one, but not the entire movie.
Precisely. You've noticed the structure, there's the danger gestalt activating. And in that simple, non-judgmental noticing, the structure loses its absolute tyrannical power over your reality. #outro.
Well, this has been quite a journey down the rabbit hole of our own perception. If we had to synthesize it, what's the core takeaway?
I think it's this. The reality you walk around in isn't some fixed, objective thing out there. It's profoundly, intimately shaped, projected, even by your own internal landscape, your history, your needs, your focus.
And our attention. It's not just a spotlight passively illuminating things. It's more like a magic wand.
Yeah.
Where you point it, you literally summon that thing into the foreground of your reality. It creates importance.
So the ultimate aim isn't really about fixing all the flaws in your perception or writing a better internal script. It's simpler and maybe harder. It's about awakening within the film.
Moving beyond judging every scene as good or bad, and instead just getting curious about the incredible constant process of structuring and filtering that's happening within you right now.
Right. So we want to leave you with a thought, maybe a question to carry into your day, something to invite that awareness, help you find that crack in the fourth wall.
Go for it.
If you accept, even just for a moment, that you are the filmmaker, what scene, what possibility will you allow to unfold next? Now that you have a hint about how you choose the figure, what deep need, maybe unmet, is organizing your perceptual field right now, coloring how you see the world?
You don't need to control it all.
Yeah.
Maybe just remember you're also the silent, spacious awareness holding the theater, the projector, and the screen.
And realizing that, well, that awareness changes absolutely everything without changing anything externally at all.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah.
Really fascinating stuff. We'll see you next time.